7:28. It is the Western Oklahoma Wake Up Show, and we are very pleased to be joined this morning by Senator Jim Inhofe. Good morning, Senator.
Oh, good morning, Todd. I'm just excited to be talking to you guys, and we're getting so close to Christmas now, and we're going to have our tax reductions out tomorrow, and so it's a good time to talk.
It certainly is, and the Christmas present that we most want is that tax reform bill, and I understand yesterday went through conference committee, and so we have an agreement. Can you give us, I know you're going to reveal it tomorrow, can you give us a little taste, though, of what
the absolutely.
Looks like?
I'll put it this way, Todd, I'll tell you everything I know.
Okay.
We're pretty familiar with what it is. The deal is that we're going to have this all out tomorrow. We'll probably have a vote on it on this coming Tuesday, and everything is going to be released. So if you look at some of the components, the 37% top individual rate, we're going to have a lower rate that's going to affect everyone. We're going to have a corporate tax reduction. That's going to be starting in 2018 instead of 2019, so we'll get the benefits of that. It'll have a pass-through deduction. Those where taxes are passed through to a corporation it'd be another reduction. The expensing of businesses for 5 years. There are a lot of people listening to us right now that means a lot to. The corporate tax, the AMT, it does end the Obamacare individual mandates, and it's how it's going to affect Oklahoma. A good quote to give you comes from the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation. Now they are a nonpartisan expert group, and they say that Oklahoma will get 10,000 new jobs from the tax plan. And the average individual after-tax income will increase by $2,000. It's going to have the child tax credit's going to be increased. By the way, anytime you have all the Democrats opposing this, then all the Republicans have to agree with it in order to get it passed. There is a temptation by some members of the Senate to hold out for something just that they can campaign on, and they can say, well, I got that through. And there are some doing that right now, wanting even a larger decrease or increase in the child tax credit. But these are things that will be decided today. It'll be all laid out for you and everyone else tomorrow, and we should have a vote as early as Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. And the reason I think we will have it is because you're coming right up against Christmas. And, we all want to celebrate Jesus' birth, and we don't want to celebrate it in Washington. So that's going to be a sense of urgency that'll be out there.
Well, you mentioned, Senator, that the individual mandate goes away in the final version of the bill. Now, there was some talk about in the original Senate version before conference committee, though in the same line, though, they added back in the subsidies for the insurance companies, which were taken away by Donald Trump's executive order. Do those stay, or have we come to that?
See, that is one of the two things that they'll be deciding today. And so we'll be ready with the final product by the end of today. But right now, I can't answer that question.
Gotcha. Well, the good news is that you mentioned the child tax credit being raised as well, but also the standard deduction almost doubles for individuals and married couples, and that's going to make filing taxes easier for people. I know there's some Democrats trying to claim that that's a bad thing. I see that as a good thing.
Well, I think the Democrats are saying that they're predicating this on people who don't work for a living. And so, that's and there's a big difference there. People out there and making sacrifices, and things are tough. But when you double a deduction, that's huge. And again, it goes back to what the evaluation from independents. If you take Republicans and Democrats out of it, say just what do the experts say, it's going to be a huge, huge benefit. And Oklahoma actually is going to be one of the states where the benefit is going to be more because, no two states are alike with their domestic taxes and other things. So I just think it's going to be good. Now, other things are happening right now, of course, as you know. My main activity has been, or one of my main activities, I've been the ranking member on the Senate Armed Services Committee. We still have, the bad news is we're still in the most threatened position we've been in And I can remember being out there in Weatherford and the Clinton area talking about this. But we have, it's not like it was in what I refer to as the good old days of the Cold War, where we had two superpowers. They knew what we had, we knew what they had, and things were predictable. But now you have countries like North Korea that actually demonstrated less than 2 weeks ago that they could hit continental United States, a city, they could hit Weatherford, Oklahoma, from North Korea, and with a weapon. That's right in the center of the United States, and that's the dangerous thing. And I'm so proud of the military now because they're admitting it. We went through some real hits the 8 years that we had Obama, and I don't say this really as critically as it sounds because Obama was a very proud liberal, and liberals don't think that we need, to have a strong national defense. And if all countries will stand in a circle and disarm and hold hands, that all the threats will go away. But that's not going to happen, and
Right.
we know it's not going to happen. So anyway, we're in real trouble in terms of where we are right now with our in our military. Our 1/3 of our brigades, only 1/3 of our brigades, our ground brigades capability. We're talking about the U.S. Army now, are actually ready and ready for combat. That's only a third are ready.
We've had to ground a lot of our planes, too, and cut back on our training for flights, right?
See, that's the big part. You go down the road there, or either place, that affects in a major way our training because, while at Altus, we're getting the hours in there, but we don't get the hours in. Anyone who's going to be forward deployed is going to have the hours. But as it is now, those who are not forward deployed, right now we're short 1,500 pilots, and 1,300 of those are fighter pilots. The number of hours that they're flying is down now to about 10 hours a month, and it should be 25 hours a month. And so we have a serious problem there, too. The Marines fly F-18s. Right now, 60% of the F-18s are not able to engage in combat.
Wow.
Because of the unavailability. When you're stripping a military, the first thing you do is avoid maintenance because that's not visible to the public. Then you avoid, you cut out modernization. Right now, we're in a position we've never been in before. In fact, General Dunford, the boss up there, he said, we are on course to lose our quantitative and qualitative competitive advantage over our adversaries. He's talking about China and Russia are actually increasing now beyond us. We used to be the leader of the free world. There's no question of where we were. We're not there now, but we're going to get back. And we have... Well, you saw what happened in Syria. That was the first test of this new president. And so now we are considered the leader of the free world again, which we weren't just a year ago right now.
Talking with Senator Jim Inhofe. Well, back to North Korea momentarily. What do we do? Because it's kind of a different situation. He's not isolated in this island all to himself where we could just bomb the heck out of him and take him out. That would be my first choice. Unfortunately, on the peninsula, you have South Korea, next-door neighbor. You launch any major operation there, a lot of innocent people in South Korea could die, but we've got to do something about it.
Well, no, you're right in talking about South Korea. We have 27,000 troops there. And there's a reason for their being there. There's what the president is doing is a lot of things are classified and you can't talk about them.
Sure.
But what he is doing is making it very clear that this is a problem not just for us but for the entire world because Kim Jong-un is not a normal person. He's not a rational person. He's somewhat mentally deranged. In fact, we're going to have a bunch of the former ambassadors at a hearing that I'll be presiding over in just an hour from now, and they're going to talk about the other countries, how everyone else is in the same situation, including China. Now, China's the only reason that North Korea is able to do what they're able to do is because they have China standing behind them, and they are the ones through their trade that are keeping North Korea alive. But when China starts joining in, and that could be perhaps the best immediate answer that's out there to keep them from being able to do the destruction that they're capable of doing. Now, the other thing is, if you're able to, if it ever gets to that, you're going to have to go in there and take out their launching sites. And if our intelligence, if they know exactly where they are and don't leave any of them untouched, that might be. I hope, of course, it doesn't get to that, because here's another thing too. You got to keep in mind that in our defense authorization bill that we just signed into law, we undid a lot of the damage that was done during the Obama administration, and we are in a position now to actually respond. For example, the THAAD system, that's a ground-based interceptor. We have 2 of those in South Korea right now, so that we could immediately knock out something coming in into that area. And of course, I hate to get in the weeds here, but it's very important that we had, when Obama took office, we had 44 ground-based interceptors. However, they're all located on the West Coast. That's where the threat was. Then, during the last year of the Bush administration, we realized with the capabilities of North Korea and some of the other countries that we were going to have to get protection on the other side. So we negotiated and had a ground-based interceptor in the Czech Republic and in Poland. And that would have been protecting Western Europe and Eastern United States. And the first thing that this president did when he got in, I'm talking about Obama, was do away with that, pull the rug out from under him. So we went through 8 years of trying to figure out how to properly defend the eastern part of the United States. And that's what we're doing right now on the defense authorization bill. I know a lot of people in your area, even though you're surrounded by military establishments, so you have a sensitivity that some parts of the states don't have. And we are now correcting some of the problems that were there. We recognize that we have the hollow force that we had in the late 1970s, and so that's got to be our number one priority right now. And I think
talking with Senator Jim Inhofe, want to get your thoughts on the Alabama Senate election.
Oh, my goodness.
Giving up a Republican seat. Of course, it was a very contested race, and I don't want to get into all the ins and outs, but that is troubling to us, right? Losing a seat to the Democrats.
Well, it is, because it drops our majority down from 2 to 1. But I don't think there's anyone listening to us right now who won't admit that the candidate that we had there was a flawed candidate. Yeah. And the things that he said, the accusations that were there, and then the documentation on those accusations, and then his type of denial, I was somewhat surprised that he was even to come as close, within a point and a half. Yeah. Because of the nature of him. Now, it's arguably the strongest Republican state out there, and so that's that's not a full term that he's elected to. So it'll all be over here in 3 years. But in the meantime, we do have one more very liberal, pro-abortion, all of them, everything else, non-military minded. One more that's in the Senate, and that's going to be a problem. But on the other hand, let me just say this, because there are Democrats and Republicans listening to us right now. In the Senate, a third of the Senate runs every election year, every other year. Last time we had a lot more Republicans running. This time we have twice as many Democrats running. And according to all the unbiased sources, the Democrats have 9 vulnerable incumbent Democrats that could lose. The Republicans have 2. And so it's going to be a major pickup, and I'll say here, and you can record it, and then we'll see what happens after the election, that we're going to have a net of 4 increase and that will make a huge difference. Instead of a majority of 1, it'd be a majority of 5.
And that would make up for the John McCain's of the world that seem to be undecided with some of the agenda.
Well, that was discouraging. My seat is right next to John McCain. John McCain was a hero, and but when we had the health vote, nobody knew that he was going to vote against it, but we knew it was down to a margin of 1. So any one person could have killed that thing. And one person did, and it was.
I think that's what scares us about tax reform when we take the next vote. Do you think all the Republicans will hold together this
Boy,
time?
I think so. We have right now a temporary illness of two of our members that have not been there. We're not there yesterday or the day before. That will be there, we think, for a vote. That certainly would be prepared for a vote this coming Monday or Tuesday. And so I think that base is covered. And of course, the results of the that took place in Alabama will not be visible for a while, so we'll still be operating with the same majority we had. And the individuals who would be tempted to vote against it, who have voted against some of the Republican programs in the last, and I'm not going to mention their names because that would get me in trouble, but they are now saying that they're supportive. So I think we're going to be right, and we'll see what happens on Tuesday.
Well, we're counting on you guys, but we appreciate you, Senator, taking some time. And I know on a closing note, you're sure going to miss your friend Al Franken.
Well, I'll get over it. I'll get over. Hey, by the way, I made a major pitch. I think maybe the best kept secret in the state of Oklahoma is the Stafford Museum out there at the airport. It changes, and there's so many people. So I've got a big promotional thing going on right now to get people to go over and see one of the great best kept secrets in Oklahoma.
It is a gem, and they're going to be doing another big expansion soon.
I know they are. Yes.
We can't wait to talk about that.
Well, Merry Christmas to all of our listeners out there, okay?
Merry Christmas to you as well. We appreciate your time.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Todd.
All right, that is Senator Jim Inhofe live from Washington. Let's get to the news now.